Hi, this is David Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. And whether you're watching with our friends at Torah Anytime or wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts, it is always exciting to have you along. And we have a sponsorship this week. This episode is sponsored in memory of my grandmother, Chaya Sora Bas Reb Tzvi. She was a Holocaust survivor who came to Eretz after the war and raised a Torah family with Mesiras Nefesh. What a tremendous, tremendous thing. Today she has close to 50 descendants who are all B'nai Torah and Yerei Shamayim. That is an unbelievable accomplishment and a tremendous record. And our learning this week should be an Aliya for the Neshama. These are very, very special people and special souls. I remember speaking once to a person who survived the Holocaust. Her mother survived the Holocaust, and when she passed away, she said her mother always said, the train took everybody from our town, and everybody was killed except for me. I went to work in the camps, and I survived the war. So I said, some people get to die as Kiddush Hashem, and some people need to live as Kiddush Hashem. And that's much harder. And so this should be an Aliya for the Neshama and all good things. Well, I went on to a topic and last time, and I received a tremendous amount of response, more than I have in a very long time. Obviously, I hit on a particular topic. And a few people actually wrote me and asked, how many episodes are you planning? And I said, I am so flattered that you think that there's a lot of planning that goes into this show. My producer, Michael, will testify how many times I have sat down to film the podcast and I said, so, what do you think I should talk about? And I will tell you the truth. I may have mentioned this last time. I went out to my kids and I said, I have to film the podcast. What should I talk about? And, I'm a little uncomfortable to do Parsha when I know Eretz and America are in two different places. And, and I like to talk about issues. I've gotten so many emails from people recent weeks about how, they're so happy that I speak about issues that need to be addressed. And I've received quite a number of suggestions, and perhaps we will incorporate those. Obviously, they didn't come to me when I started last week. I should have looked in my file. But and one of my daughters said, well, why don't you talk about making Aliya, because this is a major issue. A lot of people in America are talking and coming. And that reminded me, yes, I saw a study that they are preparing for a tremendous influx of American Jews who are going to be moving here from the craziness that's going on in America. So coronavirus has, of course, devastated America, and in particular, the Frum community. When Mayor de Blasio was asked by a Hamodia reporter, how come it was okay for everybody to go out and protest without masks and no social distancing, including you, but you won't let us reopen our shuls? And he says, well, protesting 400 years of abuse and injustice is important, but religious services is not. So, and then you see the violence. And then you see anybody who says anything that's not politically correct, they're fired from their job, they're driven off, they're attacked. But some football player gets up and says Hitler was right, and the Jews are no good, and it's like, well, you have to understand, sure, because nobody cares about us. I told you I was going to make an organization called Jewish Lives Never Mattered. I wish I had enough money to take out ads. Jewish lives never mattered. So it's frightening. So a lot of people are looking towards Eretz, thinking to themselves, this might be the right time to make a move. So I spoke about it last week, and I received a tremendous outpouring of interest from people who are actually seriously considering maybe moving to Eretz, and they really want to hear some insights into this subject, if at all possible. So, last week I talked about some of the challenges that come about from living in Eretz. Yeah, and as always happens, whenever you offer any criticism, there was, of course, one person who wrote. Usually it's more, right? One person wrote, "You're like the Meraglim, speaking bad about Eretz." Listen, I've been in the field a long time. And sometimes, you should know, when I point out problems that are going on, I'll speak about different problems when I speak. You may have noticed I'm not shy at addressing issues. So there's always at least one person who says to me, "You're speaking Lashon Hara about Klal Yisrael. It's usher to speak bad about Klal Yisrael." I said, "What do you do with Yeshayahu? Throw out that book. What about Yirmiyahu?" It's like, talk bad about Klal Yisrael. I'm sure I told the story in the past, but it definitely bears repetition. We used to make a men's Shmiras Haloshen in Har Nof, and we used to have very major people who came to speak. We had Rosh Yeshiva and Rabbanim, and I used to ask Rabbi Bowman Zatzal to come, and he kept making excuses. And it was obvious that he was avoiding this event. And finally I said to him, "Rebbe, why won't you come?" And he said, "Because I'm afraid that the public emphasis on Shmiras Haloshen is being used to stifle legitimate social criticism." So you can't say anything. It's Lashon Hara. So what ends up happening? You end up with a situation where people know things about a shidduch and they don't say anything. Lashon Hara. And then you have the couple gets divorced with a couple of kids, and what a tzaddik you were. Oh, you're such a tzaddik. Because you wouldn't say anything bad. No, let somebody's life be destroyed instead. I've mentioned in the past why this is a particularly sensitive topic for me, but in any event, so you're the mamish, the Meraglim. I'm the Meraglim. Like tongue is going to grow down and worms are going to come out and they eat me up. It's a little harsh. Anyway, not nice to call people the Meraglim. So I'll tell you a story. I used to speak when I moved here some 32 years ago. I'd speak in yeshivas, I'd speak in seminaries. And part of my routine was I would tell Israel jokes. I would point out some of the foibles that take place from living here, in Eretz. And, things have changed a lot. But I remember there used to be these lachmit crackers from Osam. And they had a picture on the front. And they left the dirty knife in the picture. It was like spread with cream cheese. And they left the dirty knife in, which I thought was kind of humorous. The ketchup bottles, are made to stand upside down. I guess the idea is that, the ketchup will always be there. You don't have to wait for Heinz, the slow ketchup, Osam's the fast ketchup. It'll be closer. So you have to balance the ketchup on the little narrow part on the top, and it's very easy for it to fall over. It doesn't seem to make much sense. I pointed out little foibles like this. Yeah. Small things. These are not, There are some great falafel places here. I mentioned this is one of the great things in Israel. Great falafel. Yeah. But there's this Israeli spice. I can't identify it, but it smells a little bit like human sweat. I'm not sure what it is. If you go into a real Middle Eastern restaurant, sometimes you can have this. So I was talking once to a group, and they said, "What is that spice that smells like sweat?" I said, it's sweat. You ever see how they make falafel? Is that anyway? I used to tell these jokes. Today it's changed, but when I came to learn in yeshiva, every yeshiva and seminary had sochnut beds, which were these little metal frames with a wooden board and a sponge mattress. Not a very big sponge mattress, Used to be certain guys in yeshiva, they'd go to the machzan and they'd stack up a bunch of mattresses, I tried once. I put a P underneath ones that I'm saying nobody knows. But so I would make jokes about these different kind of things. And the point I was making, and that was the point I was making last podcast, is that Eretz didn't be yisurim. There are issues and problems that you have to face. And I don't believe that lying to people is effective. And people lie. They'll tell you everything is better here and everything is good and everything is no problems. It's a lie. It's not true. So someone said to me, well, any country you move to, there's going to be problems. That's true. But you have to understand that a lot of things in Israel come from the fact that the people who started the state either came from Eastern European countries or they came from Arab countries, neither of which were first world countries. One of the reasons Israel has changed so much is because of the Aliya that's coming from the West. A lot of French people have moved here. A lot of Americans have moved here, and it's changed the nature of the country. But when I came here and the country was being run by, socialists and people who did not have a tradition of any kind of sense of democracy, there are problems. And I'm not going to lie to you and pretend. If that makes me the Meraglim, I'm the Meraglim because I'm telling you that there are real problems that exist. I'm sorry. I'm a little upset. I don't like it when people call me Korach or the Meraglim or Bilam or Esav or Cain, or Hitler or Chalmenki or any of these people. I don't know why it gets me a little sensitive. That's me. But in any event, I don't mean to go on a rant here. I know some people just wait for those things, but no. As Rabbi Bowman said, it's not illegitimate to point out real criticisms that have to be made. And a person who comes here, like I told the story, people come and they say the apartments are small. I had a 2-family house in Far Rockaway. I was semi-attached to one of the nicest families I have ever had the chus to know in my life. I will mention them because they're such dear friends, the Sats. And we had a semi-attached house. I had a backyard. I had a deck with a grill on it. I had a basement where you could keep things. Yeah. I moved here to a 3-bedroom apartment. And it was a major lifestyle change. I was just speaking to somebody who's thinking of maybe moving here, and they said, but I gotta find myself a house with grass, and I can't do this apartment thing. I appreciate it. I describe how I lived in Far Rockaway. I grew up in North America, Long Island, in a ranch house with a big lawn in the front and a side yard on the back, and it was suburbia. Yeah. Here's to the crabgrass, here's to the mortgage. In fact, here's to suburbia. Lay down your briefcase far from the rat race where nothing can disturb ya. Uncomplicated, it's what we waited for so long in this city. Come, let us go there, live like Thoreau there, a life of sweet simplicity. That was a song written by Alan Sherman back in the 1960s. Kimuvan, it didn't work out there. He explains all the problems that go on, but at least you don't have to deal. I didn't grow up in an apartment building. You had your own house. If you didn't cut your lawn, you got dirty notes from neighbors and stuff. But for the most part, you're on your own. And then you come and you're thrown into a cooperative building where there's a tenants association called here a Vat Bayit. And everybody's it depends where. Most people don't care, but every now and then you have a building where they get together and they fight over, oh, who do we change in the elevator company? Are we going here? Are we doing this? And everyone's forced to have to deal with each other. This person said, I'm not ready for that. I want my own house. Some grass. I don't want to have to deal with anything, Yeah. My mechutanim live on Moshav Matisyahu, the Orbachs. And I mentioned last time when we drove down to Florida, my son-in-law, Israel Mayer, he speaks Southern, so he was driving the van. But they're real good Southerners, And they have a house in Moshe Matisyahu. They used to raise chickens and goats and stuff, Fruit trees and so someone says, I'm looking for something like that, but in the heart of Yerushalayim. A little sticky. One of my children brought in Ramat Beit Shemesh Gimel, and the buildings are enormous, and everything is packed together. And they dafka made the roads extra narrow because they know how people speed, and so this way you can barely go. And when the ganim let out, you can't move on the streets. This is Matthias. This is something you have to take into account. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to do the best I can not to lie to you. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I don't want to talk about how everything is. There are difficulties, and that's what I spoke about last time. So why do you live here? So I mentioned last time I have to live here. I can't live in Chutz La'aretz. And now let me explain this to you, because without a really powerful motivation, it's hard. It's hard to leave your family. And there's so many things you don't even take for granted, that you take for granted that you don't realize. My daughter, when we first moved here, one of my daughters was having difficulty in her class. And so we decided we'd make her a birthday party. So they send out a letter. No, nobody's allowed to make birthday parties unless you invite the entire class. 35 girls in the class. So we talked, being, giving, loving parents, and we said, you know what? We'll have all 35 girls over. Yeah. And so she put up a little petek inviting everybody to her birthday party. She was third grade, fourth grade, something like that. I don't know what it was. So the teacher sees the note and calls the principal. And the principal takes down the note, crumples it, throws it in the garbage, says, no birthday parties at all. Invite your relatives. My daughter said, my relatives are in America. No, you can't have a party. Israeli kids can. By the way, I think I told this story once, but my first year that I went to sleepaway camp, I went to Camp Maple Lake. It closed down the year after I went. Next year I went to Camp Kolang. It also closed down. I'm starting to think that I might be the kiss of death. But anyway, so on the way up, so my father bought cases of soda and junk food and stuff like that, And the guy who was buying it from said, what kind of camp are they on? What is this, a prison camp? Red Cross package, Anyway, so my father, the first time we ever went to sleepaway camp, so he asked the camp director, are we, I brought some stuff for my kid. Is that okay? Oh, no, you can't have the kids have that because we give them nutritional meals and stuff, He says, well, I bought it already. He says, well, keep it in the office. And if they need anything, they want a soda, tell them to come into the office and ask for me. So whenever we wanted to have a soda, we'd walk into the office and knock on the door. I say, Mr. So-and-so, I'm here to see him. And he would peek his head out of his office. and he'd shut the door and he'd lower the blinds. I wish I was exaggerating. And he would open his bottom drawer and take out a soda and put it in a brown paper bag. And he says, if anyone asks, tell them you're throwing out garbage for me. That's how we had to get a soda. Meantime, every other kid in the bunk has cases of food, junk food, soda under their bed, in their cubbies. People used to keep their sodas warm by keeping it in the little what do you call it, of the commode. Keep it in the flush box, whatever it is. But we had to go because why? Because we asked. So Americans don't know. I'll give you an example. When my first daughter was starting high school, so it was a big problem with the high schools, and girls getting to high school, and girls getting left out. So Rabbi Yosef said, we're making a vada, and every seminar is going to take the girls we tell them to take. They set up a vada, and of course we went down for the meeting, and we met with them, and went for, they assigned us to a high school. So I see a friend of mine later, who, by the way, his wife is the daughter of a famous Rosh Yeshiva. So I said, do you have a girl going into high school? He says, yeah. I said, did you go to the Vada? He goes, you went to the Vada? I called my father. He called this one, that one. Yeah, she's in already. She's in the best one. I said, but Rabbi Yosef's a big day. Hey, American. Which is something you have to get used to in Israel, because in America we have rules. Here it runs by protexia. If you have to go in for, it's all socialized medicine. So you want to go in and get an elective operation, so you have to wait sometimes 3 months. But your mother is friendly with the secretary, and she calls up the secretary, and she juggles it around, and she moves you to the front of the line. So in America, you go to jail for that. It's called corruption. Here we call it protexia. It's protexia. If I get protexia, I can get my kid into school. If I get protexia, I can get this and that. If you're part of the beautiful people. So I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but this is all part of the Israeli mentality. You have to understand the Israeli mentality. It's very hard. I've been here a long time, and it's hard to really grasp. Sephardim are seen as an underclass. Not even by most Ashkenazim, but certainly by most Sephardim. Therefore, there are certain high schools that gear themselves for Sephardi students, and most Sephardim don't want to go there. They want to go to an Ashkenazi school. You understand what the problem is? So if the Ashkenazi school tells the Sephardim, sure, you can all come, then it turns into a Sephardi school, and the Sephardim don't want to come because they want to go to an Ashkenazi school. So all the Ashkenazi schools would turn into Sephardi schools if they took all the Sephardim, and then the Sephardim don't want to go because they want to only go to an Ashkenazi school. Because in their own mind, we're the more privileged class, and etc. So what did they do? They set up quotas. And quotas have changed over the years. 25%, 27%, 30% have to be Sephardi. Yeah. As such, very often the Sephardi students are much better than the Ashkenazi students because they're drawing from a smaller pool of students, obviously. Anyway, so Sephardim are always upset about this. But anytime a seminar says, no problem, all the Sephardim can come, they don't want to go there anymore because they dafka want to go. In the words of Groucho Marx, I don't want to join any club that would have me as a member. And I have to tell you, I don't know how it works in America, but when I was there was not such a concept. There was no classes. There was no this kind of thing. He's Sephardi, he's Ashkenazi, he's this. And among the Sephardim, they also have a hierarchy. You talk to certain Sephardim, and they're like, him? I met a Persian who's couldn't get married to a particular girl that he wanted to get married to because his parents said that they came from the wrong neighborhood in Tehran. Gewaldig. Anyway, but so a Sephardi was complaining to me, and he says, you believe they have quotas for us? I said, don't complain to me. I'm an American. They don't have quotas for us. There are certain seminarim that make it clear we don't want Americans. We don't want Americans. They're a bad influence. Yeah. And there was one very wealthy person who one of these seminarim hit up for a lot of money, and he pledged a lot of money. And then his daughter applied to the school, and they didn't take her. So he says, "You think I'm going to give you money?" So they changed their mind right away, and they took his daughter. And then they asked him, if he'd make the donation. He says, "The bitter taste is still in my mouth." But in Israeli society as a whole, I have to tell you, this was an eye-opening experience for me. Because when you decide to move to Eretz and you're going to leave family behind, as somebody wrote me, I didn't realize just the fact that I have nobody to babysit. My family's in America. There's nobody to leave the kids with. Yeah. For simchas, people have to decide, are they going to fly in and they're going to fly in? So I don't know how hard it is. So you make sacrifices. You don't know the language, and you don't know the culture, and you have difficulty at times with the parnosa. Yeah, and all these other kind of situations. But you've done this with tremendous mesirus nefesh. I always say this whenever I give a shiur in Eretz to Americans, Englishmen, Australians, because I basically speak to the English speakers. And I say, you understand, I'm talking to the most dedicated group in Eretz because you gave up so much to come here. Nobody appreciates that sacrifice. I'm generalizing, but many people don't. And as a very important person, a chinuch said to me once, the Americans are sort of an underclass. We take them as much as we have to take them. We deal with them as much as we have to take them. But a sense of appreciation, sense of wow, look what you gave up. I was giving a teacher in my girls' elementary school a ride. Whenever I would drive them, I would pass by the bus stop. If I saw any teachers, I would try to take them with me when I would drive my kids to school. So one time I told a story about how my daughter was at a Erev Chavruti at one of her teacher's house, and she volunteered to do the dishes afterwards. And the woman was surprised that she was using so much water. So this teacher said, yes, these Americans come, they don't appreciate anything, they waste the water, they waste everything, and this whole rant. I'm thinking to myself, some poor American kid like my kid is going to be in this woman's class, and they have nothing nice to say about us. So I didn't say anything, but I thought to myself, yeah, we use a lot of water because we come from a country where there's water. We moved to the desert where we have to pay a lot of money to be able to use water. We made that sacrifice. So maybe say, wow, what a beautiful thing that, she's not used to conserving water because she came from a country with a lot of water and she made that sacrifice to come here. Forget about it. So yeah. Now, I really didn't want to spend this week talking about more problems. And don't worry, there's more. I'll talk about more problems. That wasn't really my topic, I wanted to say the following. Yeah. If you're going to give up and move here, it is hard. It's hard. And like I told you, someone said to me, well, you move to any country, it's hard because you don't have family. I said, yes, but some countries are more of a first world country. You're right. If you come from America, everything is a second-rate country. That's our Americanism. But you come from a country which is somewhat developed. It's a different thing. This is a very small country, and for years it was a very poor country. I mean, they had trouble feeding people. Now Baruch Hashem is a lot better, but there's still a lot of poor people here. lot of poor people. I was just telling somebody, when an ani comes to the door. So Kodesh Baruch Hu says the reason there are phonies out there is that we at least have an excuse, to say, well, I didn't give, I thought he was a phony. But the odds that when someone comes to your door in Yisrael, he's really poor, the odds are pretty good. Odds are pretty good. So there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of difficulty. In fact, one of the reasons I moved here, I was living in Far Rockaway, and my oldest kid was 4 or something. So we used to have, like, the play group would move from house to house each Shabbos. So one Shabbos at my house, and the mothers come in, and they're wearing mink coats, and they give it to us, and we're like, we'll put it in the bedroom. And we sat down at our dinette set, which was a bridge table with chairs, and it was a very Spartan existence compared to most of the houses that these people came from. And I remember at that time, I was already thinking maybe of moving to Israel, and I said, if I stay in Habotzes HaTorah in America, I'm never going to make it. But if I go to Israel, most people aren't making it, so I'm going to fit in very well. It's a different mindset. But what has to be there for you to move here and be successful, in my opinion? So there's a lot of things, but the first one I want to talk about is the mindset. Yeah. First you have to have an understanding of how I have to think. Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. I remember when the Twin Towers went down, that Sukkot, I went to see Moshe Shapiro at Chol Moed, and he would tell anybody who was listening, this is the beginning of the end, this is Gog and Magog, everything's going down, etc. And we don't have a lot of time. So at the time I was teaching in Or Sameach. So I said, so Rabbi, normally a guy comes in, he's not from, and we slowly build him up and get him there, and he slowly starts taking on mitzvahs and things. Should I tell them, listen, time's up. You better become from today. Because tick, 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 And he gave me that look that he gave me very often, where if it was anybody else, he would yell at him, but me, he knows that I can't handle that because I'm a baby. So he just gave me a look. I didn't say anything. At the end, when I was leaving, he said, Dovid, bivadai, you have to do it the way we always do it and go slow. He says, but the difference is in your head. Ein od milavadai. You have to have that in your head. You have to understand that up here. Forget about everything else that you do. But in your head, you have to have the concept, Ein od milavadai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. So, I told you I grew up in suburbia in North America, Long Island. Back then, it was very safe. Long Island was a very safe place, yeah. And you could walk around. I knew the stores. I would do the shopping for my family. I would do grocery shopping. I knew where things were. I rode around on my bicycle. And then I came to Eretz to learn for a year. And it spoke to me in a way that nothing had ever spoken to me. And I remember doing Bein HaStarim, I would just wander around Yerushalayim. I would find like a street that I didn't know, some area I didn't recognize, and just wander around. I just loved everything about it. When I came for my second year, they were rebuilding the Jewish quarter. And I used to just wander around and watch what they were discovering. The Cardio Maximus, which was one of the big roads in the time of the Byzantium, they discovered it. I was there when they dug it up. I saw the tops of the pillars sticking out of the dirt. It was just starting. And it was so exciting. I watched how they were building arches. I watched, it just spoke to me in a way that every place I grew up never did. And I knew I wanted to live here. So when I got married, I always knew when I got married, I would come for the first year, and I did. And I wanted to stay. I didn't want to leave. And I went to Rabbi Yosef and I went to Rabbi Scheinberg. I may have told this story in the past. And they told me I have to go back. I was running NCSY. I didn't have anyone to take my place. Rabbi Yosef said, mitzvah efshal pia cherem, fine, efshal, you have to do it. So I went back, but I always had inside of me this feeling that I felt complete in Eretz. I did not in America. Now, I lived on a lovely suburban street in Far Rockaway. And we were driving down once, the street going back home. And my wife says to me, look how pretty this is. And I said, yeah, I can see the half tracks coming down to round up the Jews. If you think such things can happen, in World War II, they rounded up all the Japanese Americans and put them in internment. If people can make anti-Semitic statements, and on the floor of Congress, they can't even pass a resolution condemning anti-Semitism, and people get up and praise Hitler, no one says anything. And attacks Jews in the streets of New York, and nobody's there. But when they chas v'shalom try to go and play in a playground, the police all run over to stop us. So I saw this back in the 1980s. I saw it inside. I was afraid. My wife thought I was crazy. Still does. Now, having said that, this is a very, it's not a loving society. I'll talk about that maybe next time. There's problems between the Jews in Israel and other Jews in Israel, without getting into the Arabs, just the Jews. Yeah. And like I said, we'll talk about that. But I knew I had to live here. I knew this is where I have to be. And that changes everything. If you feel that I have to be here, then all the problems are clinicite. Those are all smaller things. But if I don't have to be here, if I could be someplace else and live a more comfortable life, then why should I do this? Which is a very important question. So before you're going to consider Aliya, ask yourself the question, when I come to Eretz, do I feel more alive? Do I feel more Jewish? Or like the person who came to visit me once and said, you really think I could give my children the same level of Jewish education that they get in Muncie? No, absolutely not. It's so interesting. I was being offered a job in England once upon a time, and I didn't want to go. But my good friend Rabbi Yaakov Bear, who was very close to Rabbi Yosef Zatzal, he found out that he had a question. He would look for any excuse to go. He goes, "Oh, let's go and ask the good rabbi." And he put me in his car and he drove me to Rabbi Yosef, about taking this job in England. Now, when I came to him years earlier about going back to NCSY or staying here, he told me I had to go back. So when I went there now, he said to me, can you guarantee your children the same level of chinuch in England that they get here? Now, I didn't really know the chinuch system in England at all. So I was like, I don't know. He says, then don't go. Rabbi Bear told me afterwards, Mistama Rabbi Yosef knows what's going on in England guns fine before he would make a statement like that. He told me not to go. Stay in Eretz. I said, last time you told me to go back. He says, and you were Matzliach? I said, yeah. He said, just like then I told you to go, now I'm telling you to stay. So I said, well, the last time the person I came with said, is he mechuyev to go? And you said, Marutza. So Rabbi Yosef said, now it's not even Marutza. Stay here. I'm very surprised. Very surprised. So, but it's because you think that this is the best place for you. And then all the problems are Kleinigkeit. What difference does it make? When I had my heart attack and my bypass operation, I did not want to be in the hospital. Hospitals are not fun places. Yeah, I can tell you stories of a lot of the unpleasantness that I had to deal with. Yeah, but suffice it to say, I didn't have much of a choice. I had to be there. I remember at one point they weren't giving me answers what was going on, and I said, "Well, that's it. I'm leaving." He goes, "You can't leave. You could die at any time." I was like, "Okay, you have my attention." So you got to be there. So you like the hospital, you don't like the hospital, you got to be there. If you feel that way about Eretz, I have to be in Eretz. But if you think like, yeah, it might be fun, I'll leave you with a story. It's an old joke. Somebody once complained that they felt that the joke was not appropriate, but it's not my joke. When I came here in 1969, in 5th grade, they were already telling this joke. They said that when Ben Gurion passed away, he got up to Shemayim. They said, "Do you want to go to Olam Haba Gehenna?" He says, "I don't know. What does it look like?" He says, "Come, let's go." And they go down to Gehenna. And there's a swimming pool, and there's a buffet, and everybody's walking around, and they're having a great time. So, not bad. What is Olam Haba? The big base medrash. Everyone's sitting in shtenders. They're all sitting and learning. He says, "What's the question?" "I'll go to Gehenna." Right? Sign all these forms, sign the papers. They take him down. There's fire. There's devils with whips of fire, pitchforks, shoveling coal. He's like, "This isn't what I saw the last time." He says, "Last time you were a tourist. Now you're an Oleh Hadash." Last time you were a tourist, now you're a new immigrant. So, of course, when you come on a tour, you stay in a hotel, there's a swimming pool, there's a buffet. But when you move here, well, as somebody told me when I first moved here, when you move here, you become called an Oleh. Literally, it means somebody who has moved up because Eretz seems the highest place. But there's a korban that's called an Oleh. And what differentiates it from all the other korbanos is that it's completely burnt and nothing remains. So there's a little message. So first, before anything else comes in, all the practicalities and the lists and all these kind of things, first in your mindset, do I have to do this? I remember I used to have kids who came to Eretz to learn for a year, and they wanted to come for a second year. They asked their parents, nothing to talk about. I was right immediately and said, nothing to talk about. So they'd come to me, and I'd say, look, I can't tell you if you're going to come back for a second year or not. But if you don't believe you're going to come back for a second year, just forget about it now, because it's never going to happen. And I found this when I was running NCSY, kids who wanted to go to Eretz Shalom. The parents told them no. And they said, okay, no. But if you say, I'm going to learn in Eretz Shalom, so then I have to work it out. Figure out how I can make it happen. But if it's no, it's no. Yeah. So if you say, I don't know, it's hot, it's dusty, I don't know the language, people are rude, a lot of traffic, there's difficulties, then you're right. You're right. It's hard. It's hard. And a lot of people tried moving here and they couldn't manage because it's hard. So first is there has to be that I'm doing this. It's interesting in marriage counseling, there's an approach where they say, first, divorce is not on the table. Because if we always have the option we can get divorced, then why should I fight to the death? Or Gottlieb explained once when somebody said, what's the difference between marriage and just like living together? Why isn't that better? So he says, there's a rule when you lay siege to a city, you have to leave one gate unprotected for people to run away. He says there are some Mepharshim who explain that that's a psychological technique. Why? Because as long as I know I can run away, I'm not going to stay and fight. But if there's no place to run, I have no choice. Yeah. So he says the same thing with the marriage. You have to say to yourself, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. Obviously, if there's something that's really sick, you have no choice. But that's a different mindset. Same thing with Eretz Show. I'll see how it goes. I'm not sure. I want to be here. So that's the first thing. First thing is the mindset. The machshava comes first. My mindset, if I move here, is I have to live in Eretz Show. Not I think it might be nice, it might be cute, maybe be a nice lifestyle change, It's got to be that this is something I have to do. Then we can talk about how to do it and what to do and what to expect. But the first part is I have to live in Israel. And if I have that mindset, then I can overcome all the difficulties. And if I don't, it gets much easier to break and run when the going gets hard. Okay, that's it for this week. If you want to find out more about the show, you can go to RabbiOrlofsky.com. You can make a comment. You can leave a message. You can comment on the show. You could sponsor an episode, and that's more or less where we are. We're going to talk about this more next week. I'm David Orlofsky, and this is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.